Today we're at the driving range and we're going to examine how to practice for every type of golfer, identifying the 7 biggest mistakes that people make whilst working on their game. Today's video is brought to you by HackMotion, a golf training device that measures and analyzes wrist angles to help improve your swing. I've been using mine for the past 2 years and it's completely changed how I assess impact. For more information on HackMotion, check out the description below. The first mistake happens right here at the ball machine. Now, during any practice session, there's going to be a principle of diminishing returns. It's not about how many balls you hit, it's about getting the most out of every single shot. So I've got 100 balls here, and that is more than enough for every type of golfer. You can use this many balls for a truly fulfilling session. That's because if you practice too much and you tire yourself out, you're not going to be able to make the changes that you want to change. Now, for all levels of golfers, please try and have a warm-up before you start hitting shots. Think about it this way. You can waste 30 of your balls getting your body nice and loose, or you can spend 5 to 10 minutes just getting in a position so you're ready to hit the ground running. Now, here are 5 of my favorite dynamic stretches that you can use before you start hitting balls. So first up, lunges. You could use a wall support if needed and take your time. So you want to be keeping the weight in your heel and keeping the knee directly above your toes with the back and shoulders nice and upright. If you keep your chin and your head facing forward, that would be wonderful. A little variation of this, if you are feeling slightly fruity, is a side lunge. Body weight squats. So with this, get your feet about shoulder width apart and dip low whilst trying to keep the back straight and the arse out. To get the shoulders going as an extra bonus, lift the club over your head.
Oh yeah. Oh mommy.
Toe taps to side bends. So slight flex in the knees or straight legs if you are an advanced flexibility merchant. Tap the toes to work the hammies and then stretch up through the shoulders and the back. Add in a side bend to work the obliques. Assisted twist is just a really simple way of beginning to move the body in sync and in a golf swing. So I like to exaggerate these turns and get an assist by popping a club across the back, but you are really trying to mimic the movements you want to see in a golf swing. And lastly, weighted club swing. So this is pretty easy. Just grab a couple of irons or 3 together and swing them as though you are hitting an actual shot. The extra weight of the clubs should pull you through the range of motions that you want to achieve. Last little tip on this, try to use clothing and footwear that you would be using on the golf course. Now, I have come proper full kit to the driving range today, but at the very least, the glove that you're going to use when you play and a pair of golf shoes. Now, we're about to go into the practice session, but one of the biggest mistakes that I see golfers make is not being specific about the types of practice that they're trying to do. First of all, you have block practice. Now, this is a limited transfer of skills to the varied nature of golf, but block practice can lead to improvement in technique. Specific block practice is a type of block practice, but it's working on a singular aspect of technique or change, and that's often based on a lesson, or if you're familiar with our channels, the Swing Quest videos. Now, measured practice is the ability to measure a change. Now, in this video, we're going to be using HackMotion, but you could use a launch monitor, a TrackMan, a Foresight, but also video, because it's the benchmarking and it's the ability to measure that allows a change to bed in. Now, pressured practice involves scores, games, and goals based on your current level. And varied practice leads to the highest level of transfer to a game situation. In other words, to the golf course. Now, if you can build a session that involves all of these types of practice, you are well on your way to improvement. By the way, how good were they? Oh, flagging it the first few. So this is the first part of my session today, and I'm not just going to be hitting balls for the sake of it. I'm going to be very specific about my block practice. Now, if you do come to a driving range just to bat balls away, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to get the most out of a practice session and you really want to try your best to improve, then you need to focus. So every golfer will be different, but for me, in this section of my practice, I want to work on my swing and the changes that I'm trying to make. Personally, that sees me turning more fully into my trail side. I've been really trying to settle into my back hip, move through the ball, covering it with my chest, and then controlling my wrist angles as I move through impact, and we will be speaking about this a little bit more with hack motion. And for this part of the practice session, I'm exaggerating every single movement. So on that backswing where I just want to turn into this trail hip, I feel like my trail hip is almost in my bag. As I come through the ball, I'm trying to cover it more with my chest. I literally feel that my sternum is over the golf ball. And controlling my wrist angles, I want to feel nice and solid with my lead arm and feel like my hands are passing low around the body. In reality, am I going to be anywhere near those positions? No. But it's only through these massive exaggerations that I'm actually going to be able to make the change that I want. So whilst I'm exaggerating these movements and I'm really pushing them to the extreme, they're actually very specific. So if you're at a practice session and you're working on your takeaway, your wrist hinge, top of the backswing position here, transition into the downswing, rotation, impact, follow through, and then your finish position might be too much. If at all possible, only try and work on a few things at any one time. Now, the best person to tell you about which things to focus on is your local PGA professional. Try and get a lesson before you start to practice, because then you'll have an idea about what to work on. If you can't have a lesson with a PGA professional, then we have a coaching channel over at Swing Quest where you can get in-depth knowledge on every part of the game. Hey! But that's okay, because lastly, this part of the session is not about where the ball goes, it's about exaggerating those feelings. We will get onto target very soon. So for this section of the practice session, I want to be measuring my performance. Now I'm going to do this by using the hack motion for my wrist angles, but also camera to see the positions I'm getting into with my body. This is one of the biggest mistakes that I see amateur golfers make, and a lot of good golfers as well, is not having the ability to measure your practice. Because I know the positions that I want to get into and I know the feelings, but remember the exaggerations, remember me pushing things to the extreme. Here is how I can actually tell if I'm achieving those things. So pushing those exaggerations come through. And also at this point, I'm introducing more of a specific target. So I'm going with the outside mat here at the beaches, which is in between the 250 and the 200-yard marker. So I've got a nice little spot that if my ball lands in that section, I know that it's gone online with where I'm aiming. Yeah, that's pretty good. I have one more, then I'm just gonna check to see where I'm at in the swing and on the hack motion. So during those shots there, the only tendency I had was for the ball to go a little bit too much off to the left-hand side, and at impact, I was a little bit too much in flexion, so my wrist was a little bit too much bowed. But in comparison to where it used to be, honestly, this is so much better. And as mentioned, if you do want more information on the hack motion, make sure you get down into the description below. So this for me is one of the most important parts of a practice session, and yet it's consistently overlooked. It starts to place the emphasis on results, which is obviously really important when you want to move your practice from a driving range onto a golf course. Now the Beaches driving range has a TrackMan system, which is really useful when it comes to pressured practice. However, if you don't have access to one of these ranges, how can you pressurize your practice if you do just have a field to hit into? So first of all, I'm struggling more with my irons at the moment. I don't want to brag, but I'm driving it just about the best that I ever have in my entire life. So I need to structure my pressured practice around my irons. And for this section of practice, I've given myself 25 balls. What I'm going to do today is have a game where I'm using every single one of these balls, giving myself a total score, and then the next time I come to the driving range, that's a target to beat. Now the game I'm going to play, this can be adapted depending on the range that you're at, but this is specifically for where I am at the Beaches here. So down the right hand side of this range, I have 100, 150, 200 and 250 yard marker. Now as I go down the range, the gap between those markers actually becomes tighter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my 9-iron. My first shot, I need to finish it in between the 100 and the 150. My second shot between the 150 and 200, and my third between the 200 and the 250. So obviously I don't need to hit it that far, but I just need to finish it within that gap. Now that leaves me 2 balls, and it's really, really simple. If I miss one of the targets, I get to have another go. If I run out of balls before I achieve my final objective between the 200 and 250, I fail, and I need to start again. My ideal situation is to get from my 9-iron to my 5-iron and complete the task. Haha, 1 out of 1. Admittedly, that is an absolutely gargantuan gap. Now, if I missed that, I'd be in trouble. So my second gap in between the 150 and the 200. Stay there, stay there, stay there, stay there, stay. Yes. Whew. I don't think I could have gotten closer to the edge, but it's there. So now I've got 3 balls to complete this last target. Oh my God, draw! Okay, that's him. So I completed that with 1 ball to spare. So I can put that ball to the side and save it for later. Okay, onto the 8-iron. Let's move it up. Let's complete the task. Oh, it's too easy. It's just too easy. Now, depending on your current ability, you can change the width of these targets. You make them as big or as small as you want. You can also alter it for your wedges, for your driving. Use your imagination, try and be specific, and try and put that pressure on. Stay there, stay there, stay there, stay there, stay there, stay there. Good. God, it's good these balls, they listen. And all I'd have to do to make this a pressurized situation the next time I came to the range is try and beat my current best score. And if I managed to do that, I could then change the game and move on. So everything is range focused here. But during the pressure practice, we started to aim at some different targets. And the varied section right at the end of the practice session is all about how to move your game from the range to the golf course. Oh, I've got a spare ball here, I might as well clip away. My top tip for varied practice on the range is never hit to the same target or never hit the same ball flight twice in a row. It's about getting into the mindset of what you're going to do out on the golf course. But think about your favorite golf course. So the first hole at the old course, St Andrews. So off that tee, I'm just going to be hitting a 4-iron. The first fairway at St Andrews on the old course is literally as wide as this range. So I shouldn't miss it, but a 4-iron is going to lead me about 120 yards. So I'm going to pick my point, my aim line, in between the 200 and the 150. So I want it to land somewhere in between that. Pretty successful shot overall there. Now that's going to lead me, as mentioned, between 100 and 120 yards. So I'm going to say a 50-degree wedge. Now 50-degree wedge, if I want to hit it that distance, say 115, let's be specific, I'm going to hit a 3/4 50-degree. Now 115 yards here, we have the 100 marker, we've got the pin there, so I'll hit it towards that, which is just to the right of the radar stand. Oh, well boys, I think I'm on for a birdie at the first, at the old course. The varied nature of this practice, it means you have to be specific about the shots that you're trying to hit, and that you can have the imagination if you don't have access to the software, which allows you to put yourself in that game situation. But it really is worth it. Like, don't just stand there, hit the same shot again and again and again. But the game that I'm going to play to finish up my session here is something that Tiger Woods uses all the time. This is, I would say, a little bit more advanced. I think if you struggle controlling ball flight, this is going to be aspirational. But if you want to give it a go, I recommend you do. It's a fantastic drill. So what Tiger does to control his ball flights, he throws out, well, they call it tic-tac-toe in the States. which has never made any sense to me. A noughts and crosses grid up in the sky, again, using imagination. So what I will do is I will pick a club, let's go in the middle. So let's say a 7-iron, okay? And I want to try and achieve hitting these different sections. Now, you can think about them as windows, you can think about them as a noughts and crosses tic-tac-toe board. You can do it in a very different way, but that is the visualization that I'm going to have. Now, I want to try and hit a different shot every time. So let's say I'm going to hit a draw through the middle window on the right-hand side. So I'm going to imagine where that is in the sky. I'm going to take aim, and I know the window that I want it to pass through. It's actually pretty good. Now this is moving me away from my technical practice. This is about feel, this is about trying to shape the ball how I want. So I've done that mid-range draw. I'm gonna go dead straight now, and I wanna hit a low punch through the bottom middle window. Oh, I drew a little bit. Probably kicked up slightly higher than I wanted as well. I put that right at the top of that window. Next up, what about a high fade through the top right? Oh, a little straight, but okay. That's pretty good. Now to make this more difficult, let's say I move on to my 4-iron. So that low stinger, should I get a low draw stinger here? This is going to be relatively easy. Through that bottom right window because of the lack of loft. However, let's say I want to hit a really high straight shot. This is going to be a little bit more difficult. Oh, that's pretty good. That is pretty good. I'd say that was through the bottom of the top window. And we are done. So that entire practice session, 100 balls, was completed just within the hour. I think it was like 55 minutes. So that's a really succinct, compacted session, which will get everything in which you need and help you avoid those big mistakes. So if you've enjoyed this practice session, make sure you absolutely smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you for Hack Motion for partnering with the channel as well. And we'll see you down here next time.